Hey everybody, welcome to Money's No Object. I'm your host, Dylan Howell. This is episode number 180 of our YouTube channel and podcast, and I cannot be more excited to continue sharing with you guys personal finance topics that I think can be useful for you in your long-term financial journey. This is going to be the end of our week on talking about financial literacy, and I thought really no better way to cap off this week than just talking about how can you save money? Because I know that saving money is such an issue for so many. I know that many people are troubled with the idea of how they can put money away, whether it be just in an emergency fund or in some type of investment account even, right? How can you put money away to make big purchases? I want to help you with that. I want to help you to learn more about how you can go about saving money and why it's not that crazy of an idea. It just takes some action by you and some understanding of how the process works of putting money away for your future or for some future purchase. Before we get started though, if you could go down below, hit the big red subscribe button, like this video, leave me any feedback in the comments down below and I'll be sure to respond to anything you leave down there. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, then be sure to subscribe and leave me a review on either one of those platforms. Follow me on social media at MNO with Dylan, and that's really good supplemental materials to all the things I'm putting out in these long form episodes on YouTube and the podcast every single day. And then if you need somebody to help you to create a plan that is specific to you and your family's needs and keep you accountable to that plan over the long term, then I can do that. Just go to my website, www.mnowithdylan.com. Click on the Work with Dylan tab, and you can choose the financial coaching session type that would work best for you, and we can begin pushing towards your long-term financial goals together. So here's the deal. When it comes to your money, there are only two sides to the equation. There is your income, and there is your expenses. And your income can only do so much based on what your expenses are. And so when it comes to saving money, right? When it comes to doing anything with money, we have to have the money available to do it, quite obviously, right? And that is a big issue for a lot of people. A big issue with people is they don't think that they can save money because they don't make enough money, or they don't think that they can save money because their expenses are too great, right? They have too much going on in the way of expenses, right? There are two sides of this equation. And a lot of people think the only way to get out of a situation where you can't save money or you don't think you can save money is to make more money. And they think that it's very difficult to go out and make more money, which I'm not going to deny that it's difficult to make substantial amounts of money, right? It takes some skill, it takes work, right? But there are things that you can also do to the expense side of what you have that can really help you out. Now, that is to say that your expenses are out of control. Because what could definitely be the case is that your expenses really aren't out of control. You could be living a pretty bare bones, generic lifestyle, not doing anything too out of control, staying out of debt, all these different types of things, and not having too much that's draining your cash flow. And yet you don't make the money in order to cover your expenses and save the amount of your income that you need in order to do one thing or another, okay? Now, I understand that both of these situations exist. I understand that there exists a situation both where you make enough money, you just spend it on too much stuff, right? And that's a very, very common situation. But there's also the situation where you don't make much money and you don't spend much money. Therefore, you don't have much money left over, right? It's just a very, very tight household based on the income that is being brought in. Well, the good news is that you can work towards fixing both of these issues. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. I'm not saying that you can completely get rid of the issue that you have, but hopefully, my hope for you is that you can get to a point where you can start putting money away in some way, shape, or form. And hopefully, that can look like a couple things. That can look like you living below your means and actually making the choice with your expenses to cut down on some things in order to live below your means. Or you can begin to make income where you have the margin to live below your means, because some people just simply don't have the margin in order to live below their means. They do not make enough money for just the basic necessities of life, much less being able to put money away for retirement or put money in an emergency fund or save for their kids' college, whatever it may be, right? And so we have to fix both of these problems in one way or another. And so I'm going to go through a bunch of ways today, a bunch of tips on how you can save money. Some of them are going to help you with the first problem, which is, hey, I don't make enough money, right? I definitely don't make enough money. I'm not living an extravagant lifestyle, and therefore I can't save. I can't save money because I don't make anything. And then the others are going to help you to fix the second and more prevalent of the two, and that is, I make plenty of money, even though you may not think you make plenty of money. You make plenty of money, but you spend too much of it on crap, okay? You spend too much of it on things that you absolutely do not need. So we're going to go about trying to fix both of those issues with all of the things that I'm going to tell you about how you can save money, ways in which you can begin saving money for yourself, and things that you can do, actions that you can take in order to get the ball rolling on your savings. So the first one, and the probably most straightforward, yet the most difficult to do. And this is really going to help if your expenses are just way too high. Get out of debt, okay? Say goodbye to debt. Stop taking out debt on anything at all, okay? And get your debts paid off. Because, why? Because I talk all the time about your debt being a strain on your cash flow, right? If you have debt, it's going to decrease the amount of cash flow that you can keep in your house, therefore decreasing the amount that you can invest, thus decreasing the amount that you can save, thus decreasing the amount that you can give. It decreases all the other parts of your financial life, right? And so if I have no debt, then I have money, right? If I have no debt, then I can actually pay for things in cash. I can actually put money away. I can actually save money. I can actually have money in case something bad were to happen in my life. So you need to say goodbye to debt. This is why in the financial action plan, I tell you to get out of debt right before I tell you to build up a fully funded emergency fund, because you don't have the money or the time to build up the fully funded emergency fund while you're still in debt, right? While you're still in debt, you can't build up a fully funded emergency fund with any type of veracity. You can't build it up quickly. You can't build it up in a way that it is going to be able to stand without you having to dip into it in order to pay your debts at some point in time. You notice I also don't go into investing heavily until the sixth part of the financial action plan. And the fourth part, obviously, is paying off all your debts. Why? Because I know that you won't have significant money to be able to invest heavily if you consistently have money flying out of your door going towards debt payments. Okay? So saying goodbye to debt, getting rid of debt, is the biggest thing that you can do for yourself in order to create margin. And when I say margin, I mean the difference between what you make and what you spend, right? That is your margin. That is the living below your means, right? The amount that your expenses are below your income is how much you are living below your means. And in order to live below your means, getting out of debt and staying out of debt is a huge deal. You know, I don't just say getting out of debt. Getting out of debt, yes, is important, right? Paying off your debts is extremely important. But if you do not stay out of debt, then at some point your cash flow will again be strained by the idea of debt payments, by the idea of having to pay on debts time and time again. So saying goodbye to debt, huge one. If you don't do that, then none of the other ones apply really too well, right? Try that first, and then we can do some of these other things that are really smaller in magnitude, and they may actually take a little more specific work from you. But getting out of debt is something that you can do. You just have to work towards that end and be very intentional about trying to do so. Now, of course, there are other things that you can do in order to save money as well. There are other things that you can implement in order to get to a point where you can actually save money for your future. And one of the biggest when it comes to specific line items on your budget that are outside of debt payments, one of the specific ones is food and groceries. I've talked about this many times before, but I think it is needed to be reiterated because groceries are expensive, okay? Food, eating out is expensive, but it can also be as expensive as you want it to be, right? Shopping at Whole Foods is expensive, right? It's expensive to go and shop at some type of place like Whole Foods or some of those other, very health conscious type places, right? Where you're buying organic foods and all these different types of things. It's costly to do that, right? It can be extremely costly to go to Kroger or Walmart and buy groceries. It can, right? All depending on what you are deciding to do with your money, all depending on the plan that you have for your money and that you have for that particular portion of your budget. Now, the most expensive part of food is eating out, right? Eating out is extremely expensive. It's extremely expensive to eat out and still remain within the bounds of your budget, right? And even if you are budgeting, maybe you're budgeting way too much in the food area. Okay, so cut down on groceries and other food. Cut it down to where it is something manageable, something reasonable. And one of the best ways that you can do this is having a list. Okay, and there are these great things out there now, these click list apps or these different apps for these different stores that will allow you to go on and actually fill up a cart. And I'm not saying necessarily to have your groceries delivered, because obviously that comes with a cost, or to do contactless pickup, which that's your prerogative, whatever. I'm saying you can go into these apps and you can see exactly how much you will spend at the grocery store if you stick to a list that you have already made. And in doing so, you can determine what things you need and what things you don't. Because once you're actually in the grocery store, it's going to be difficult to make those determinations. It's going to be difficult to throw something out of the buggy that you think you need. It's going to be difficult to go get something that you forgot on the list or whatever it may be, right? You can actually do that within the comfort of your own home. And then you can go maybe to the grocery store and actually do it yourself. You can do it in the store and allow yourself to not overspend in the grocery area. And this is huge, right? Because many people, families of, anywhere from, just a husband and wife, or, we're talking about a family of 8, 9, right? One of your biggest expenses is going to be your groceries. It's going to be your food budget. And if you aren't efficient with the way you purchase food, if you aren't efficient with the way you go about grocery shopping and the way that you go about eating out or buying food in other places, then it is going to be very, very difficult for you to save any money if you do not have any money because you're spending it all on groceries, okay? So that's another way that we can cut down expenses in order to save some money. We can also go about canceling some things that are being strains on our cash flow as well. Things like gym memberships you don't use, things like subscriptions to whether it be some type of website, some type of streaming service, whatever it may be that you aren't using. Cancel those automatic subscriptions and memberships, and it can allow you to have a little bit more money in your pocket. Obviously, that is a small thing, a small way to decrease expenses, but it's also something that you can do. This next one kind of goes with the grocery shopping and buying things, but this is just buying things in general, right? Buy generic. There's no reason that you need a name brand. Oh, but the name brand Fruit Loops tastes better than the off-brand Fruit Loops. You may be right. That may be the case. But how much different do they taste? How much worse do they taste? And you're telling me you can't get used to the off-brand Fruit Loops? I'm telling you, you absolutely can, right? Buy generic. Generic is a lot cheaper, right? I've had this situation myself recently. My wife and I are expecting a child in June, and we received a lot of clothes and bedding and things like this that are going to need washed, right? We received all these at baby showers, and these things are going to need washed. And we want to use the gentle laundry detergent for children, for babies specifically, right? And there's one brand that I'm going to leave unnamed that brand is very, very expensive. And, everybody's like, oh, you can use that brand. That's good for baby clothes. That's good for all the baby stuff. I go to the store and I'm like, that brand is way too expensive. And so what do? I look right next to it and there's a generic. It's got all the same ingredients, all the same stuff that is under half the price. And so I pick that one up off the shelf and I go check out, right? I don't buy the name brand just for the sake of it being the name brand, okay? And you can end up having a little more margin in your budget this way, okay? Now, there's something else that you can do that is not necessarily cutting your expenses or increasing income that I think is particularly interesting, and that is save your money automatically. And what this is going to make you do is it's going to force you into a place where over the course of a month, you have less money to spend. So it's going to automatically create margin. You are going to have to spend less money. It's going to force you to live below your means. And so have some automatic saving technique. Have something where automatically a portion of your check goes into a savings account. Have something where automatically a portion of your check goes into your investing account. Have something where automatically a portion of your check is going to your children's college savings. That is going to create less friction for you, right? Friction's a big thing in finance because anything that's going to require action from us leaves room for us to mess it up. Okay, that's a friction. A friction is when things rub together, right? Where there's something that's going to slow you down. You will slow yourself down if given the chance. Okay, but if you take away that friction and you just receive your check, but it's already had whatever it may be deducted from it, then you don't worry about anything. You're just like, okay, I'll just live on whatever I have here. And so that is something you can do that is extremely helpful and is a good habit to get into, to saving money first, to investing money first. That way, the money that you actually have in your bank account is money that you can actually spend towards whatever you want to spend on, and you don't have to worry about investing as you move forward throughout the month or saving as you move forward throughout the month. It's automatically done. It's done up front, and you have less money to live on now, but it leaves you with no choice. In a similar way, right, I talk about, in the third part of the financial action plan and then in the sixth, where we're saving at least 15% of our income for our future, right, or our children's future, that we should be using our employer-sponsored retirement accounts if they have a match, if they are a good way in which we can invest our money for the future. And how do they do that? They do that through automatic deductions. They do that through deducting money from your check, and you don't even know it's gone. I'll tell you this from personal experience. I know that I've had money go from bank accounts into something like a Roth IRA, which is a necessity, right? You have to go from your bank account to the Roth IRA. There can't be an automatic deduction. And I've had money that goes straight from a check into a 401k, 403b, those types of accounts. And you look up and the money that went into the 401k was a lot simpler, was a lot easier, was one less step. And the money that you brought home within the check was actually money that you got to keep. But with putting money into the Roth IRA, even though the Roth IRA is a great option, I've talked about that several times before, you had to actually put the money in your account. It increases your account balance, and then it has to go out from your account. So yes, you can still set up something automatically there, but those paycheck deductions are really, really useful, really, really helpful, and really decrease frictions between you and saving your money. And there are several things that we can do on the expenses side of our budget to get better, to actually have margin in order to save money. You can shop your insurance rates. Shopping your insurance rates, you can save a ton of money, and you can also save money by paying your insurance premiums either on a semi-annual or annual basis and not paying the monthly. You'll actually save money in doing that. But insurance is a huge cost, and being able to shop your insurances, especially things like car insurance, could be really, really helpful for you to save money into the future. Also, shopping your phone bill, right? Or looking for discounts when it comes to your phone bill or cable or things like that, things that you could be spending less money on, but we become really loyal for no reason to some of these companies and just pay them what they ask us to pay them. You could look into ways that you can decrease the amount that you spend in those places. And then I think that you can do a lot more things than you think you can. You can DIY a lot of things that you want to spend money on, and you didn't even know it. So before you shell out the cash to pay for, let's say, a new backsplash or a light fixture, or you want to have a new kitchen table built, or something as simple as changing your oil, changing your brakes, changing your tires, or rotating your tires, or doing things like that. I know some of those things are a little more physically intense than others, but you can learn how to do just about anything. YouTube is an extremely useful tool. You can get on and just look up just about anything and learn how to do something. DIY things yourself, and it will allow you to save a ton of money. Now, that is specific to when, hey, I'm trying to save up money in order to do something, and I can't save up money in order to do this renovation or whatever, right? Doing that renovation yourself could be a lot more useful, and you could probably do it a lot better than you think that you can, right? I know there are professionals for everything, and there are some things that you should use professionals for. I don't know many people who can do the job that plumbers do in a lot of cases when pipes burst or whatever it may be. They can do that job. I don't have the first clue, but I know how to change oil in a car. I know how to change brakes in a car. I know how to lay tile. I know how to do these different things that will allow me to save money over time. And you can learn some of those skills as well. And it's not as difficult as you may think. It just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of elbow grease on your part, and it can allow you to save money in that way. There are many things you can do, right? Many things you can do, especially on the expenses side. But when it comes to the income side, right, if you're sitting there and you're going, yeah, all this is fine, but I've already done that and I still can't save money. I still don't have money that I can save. I'm sitting here and I just don't make enough money. Well, you may have a couple issues on your hands that you can deal with, but it's going to take a lot of work from you. Obviously, you can just work more, right? You can either work more hours at the current job that you're working, right? If you work something in the healthcare field, or if you work something where there's a lot of overtime offered where you can make more money in that way, then by all means, take advantage of those opportunities and you'll bring in more income. If you're saying, yeah, but I've done that and that, I don't have that offered to me. Well, start a side hustle. Find something that you are very passionate about, something that you really enjoy, and something that you can monetize, something that you can actually turn into cash for you and your family. And go and do that and put time into that, right? If you're only working from 9 to 5, from 5 to 9, you have some type of time in order to sit down and work on something that you're passionate about. And maybe eventually what you're passionate about can turn into your actual job, can actually turn into the thing that you do, your career, and you can make more money and be able to create margin in your budget in that particular way, right? It's really going to require you to work. In order to get more income, it's going to require work from you. It's very likely that you could be in a place where you're working a particular job and that job is dead end and that job's not paying you enough and you are worth more. Well, don't feel loyal to a place just because they offered you a job. If they're not giving you the money and the benefits that you are due, then go apply for new jobs. Go try to find a new job. Go try to find a new place that you can work and that you can make more money and you can do better things and things that you're more passionate about and things that you enjoy more. Anytime you can enjoy what you're doing and make more money, the cash is really going to flow in and it will allow you to make better decisions with your money. When it all comes down to it, though, whether it's making more money or decreasing your expenses, what we have to understand is that as we make money, our expenses should not match the money that we make, right? People should look at you and go, I think they make less money than they actually make, right? I think that person makes $50,000 a year when that person's making 80, right? Or I think they make 100 when they're making 250 or 200, right? Because that living below your means shows up in your lifestyle. It shows up in how you live. It shows up in how things look. And living below your means is the only way over the long term that you are going to be able to save money. It's the only way that you are going to be able to have that margin in your budget to do the things that you want to do, to save for retirement, to save for your kids' college, to have an emergency fund, to be able to do the type of renovations in your house that you want, to buy the things that you want to buy cars without going into debt, to do all these different types of things. You need to be able to create margin in your budget. And if there is no margin, then there is no money, right? If there is no margin, then there is no way that we can go about making sure that you save money. You have to save money from the margin that you create in your budget. And without creating that margin, then things are extremely, extremely difficult. But you have to figure out, you have to troubleshoot first. You have to have a budget, right? You have to have a budget that tells you how much money you make, where your money's going. And you have to determine based on that budget, am I spending too much money based on what I make? Or am I not making enough money and I need to make more money? Or is it both? Or is it, neither, and I'm just scared to save money for the future and I don't know what to do, right? Your budget can tell you a lot. Your budget is very informative. That's why I tell you the first thing that you need to do in the financial action plan is to budget your monthly income. And if you are not budgeting your monthly income, then you are going to be in a tough place because you don't know where your money's coming from and you absolutely do not know where your money is going. So be budgeting, be cognizant of where your money is coming from and where it's going, and be able to make the decisions for yourself that you need to make so that you can start putting money away in the right places. Follow the financial action plan. It is a very, very good tool. It's something that I've put in place so that you can do the things you need to do with your money, and hopefully you can use it and do the most good for you and your family, and create the most financial freedom and financial success over the long term, because ultimately that's the goal. I don't want you to save money just to save money. I want you to save money so you can have financial freedom. I want you to save money because most people can't. Most people can't cover a simple $400 expense. Most people are working paycheck to paycheck. Most people don't budget. If you break the mold and do weird things, then you can be weird, right? I don't care where you're at today. You start where you're at and you can build up a financial life that you want to live. If you just put a little bit of sweat and hard work into it, I know for sure that you can do it. You have to be intentional. You have to have a plan and work that plan to a T all the way into financial freedom. So thanks for watching this video. If you could go down below, hit the big red subscribe button, like this video, leave me any feedback in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to respond to anything you leave down there. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, and be sure to subscribe and leave me a review on either one of those platforms. Follow me on social media at MNO with Dylan, and that's really good supplemental materials to all the things I'm putting out in these long form episodes on YouTube and the podcast every single day. And then if you need somebody to help you to create a financial plan that is specific to you and your family's needs and keep you accountable to that plan over the long term, then I can do that. Just go to my website, www.MNOwithDylan.com. Click on the Work with Dylan tab, and you can choose the financial coaching session type that would work best for you, and we can begin pushing towards your long-term financial goals together. Tune in Monday as I talk about what it actually means to be a millionaire. And spoiler alert, most people don't know what a millionaire actually is. So we're going to talk about what it means to be a millionaire, and then follow that up throughout the week with a lot of topics on millionaire and how to get to that point in your financial life. So thanks for tuning into this episode of Money's No Object. I'm your host, Dylan Howell. God bless.